Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Always Aggressive podcast. I'm Hunter Massengill alongside head coach Tony Ursuline. Tanner, over to the side. Happy New Year, everyone. 2020, first podcast of the new decade.
The decade.
Here we are. It seems like it's been a long time since we've been together. So here we are.
New Year. We haven't had one for a while.
Over 2 weeks, like 3 weeks ago today was the last podcast we did. So we have a ton to recap today. Obviously,
Lots has happened.
Midlands was a big deal, so we're going to wait and put that off. We've got some more things to cover before we get to Midlands. Cougars, SIUE taking the win down in Edwardsville. A good match with a lot of good wins in there. Devin Schroeder, Travis Ford Melton starting off the match with pins. Great way to start the match down in Edwardsville.
Yeah, it was nice to see the guys come off of final exams and jump right back in and perform pretty well for the most part. You know, we came back from Las Vegas, which was, a tough grind, and immediately had finals. And, that schedule is always disjointed, as we've talked about before. So to come back and, we had 5 days or so to train and then really get ready for a duel before we went on holiday break. It was nice to see the guys. They looked pretty good overall. I thought, they got right back in rhythm after, finals and looked pretty sharp for the most part.
I blinked and missed. We went pin and we were up 12-0, and I'm sitting there frantically typing on my computer. I was like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, they were making you work hard, weren't they?
Yeah, it was things were going pretty quick there for a second.
Yeah.
And
Devin Schroeder with the minute 45 pin and Travis Ford Melton with the 12-second.
I couldn't find a faster pin. I dug for a while, and again, I'm in the middle of the duel, so I couldn't dig too hard. But I don't know the last time we had a guy pin somebody in 12 seconds.
Yeah, it was quick. Double underhooks, bear hug, and then
Bang.
And they finished it. And that's the nice thing about Travis, just, as a side note. When he puts people on their back, they usually don't get off. He's a good finisher.
Yeah, he gets it.
He closes the deal.
One thing I want to talk about is Griffin's match. Griffin went into there were some weird things that went on in that match. And I don't know, I know
Weird
it was a long time
word.
ago, but both of you I was watching at home, can talk through what happened in that match. There were some calls that you were concerned with, calls that their coach was concerned with, that went into the tiebreaker, that there was questions in the tiebreaker round as well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a circus.
Yeah.
Dancing bears.
Obviously,
yeah.
Listen, both sides are competitive.
Sure.
Coach Spates and his crew wanted that match. We wanted that match, and so everybody was fighting hard. The two guys out there fought hard. From a procedural standpoint in the OT, there was an unfortunate series where they had gone past sudden death and they were in the 30-second rideouts. And there was action where one man had scored, and the official blew his whistle and called time. I think he had thought maybe they were still in the sudden death, and there was points, and the match was then over.
That's what it looked like at home.
And in the 30-second rideout, action continues because each man gets an opportunity to ride the other, and you wrestle the entire 30 seconds with no stoppage. Yeah. And so the official was unfortunate, and I think he realized it as soon as he blew the whistle, and so they went back. And incidentally too, based on the action, that sequence of action, I believe SIUE challenged that there might have been near fall.
Yeah, they thought backs were coming too.
They thought back points maybe should have been awarded, but obviously the whistle was blown. There shouldn't and couldn't have been a count. Right. So there were just a lot of things going on that if you weren't in the gym, it would have been hard to follow. So unfortunate, but they got it right, and then we went back and went through the duel, and it was a hard fought match, and we were happy to come away with it.
I was trying to supplement Tanner's tweets because there was no commentary on the stream, watching on ESPN Plus. So I was trying to supplement the tweets as commentary, and the best I could figure out was that they had thought that it was still the sudden victory round, or that even in the tiebreakers, one score would end it.
I was doing my best to provide information as to what was happening as best I could interpret it without trying to be too biased. Is that a good way to put it, Tony?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was, obviously, I got a dog in the fight. So and it's our channel, so we can, we could be, biased in that sense. But
and it was an exciting match too. I mean, it
was crazy.
It ended 12-10, which is not very common for seeing something go to sudden victory and tiebreaker rounds as that highest scoring of a match.
Yeah, and I will say this about with Griffin too. Like, he was thrown for 4 points early, came out, got lateral dropped.
He had to dig out a hole
to his back, and he had to dig out, being down 4-0 very early in that match. So that, like I said, it was nice to see. Obviously an unfortunate deal with the stoppage, but we were happy to, like I said, to climb out of a 4-0 deficit and get back into the match, take it to OT, and ultimately get the win.
for sure.
Bruner getting a first round pin as well. Another big win, Thomas Pinola getting win over then ranked number 17 Colton McKiernan in the heavyweight spot. Great for Thomas.
Yeah, you really see Thomas continuing to develop and fill into the weight. He's just becoming more comfortable. The tactics are obviously a little different at that weight class than when he was wrestling at 197 pounds. So he continues to figure things out and look more comfortable at the weight, and certainly a very notable win for him.
Pretty cool yesterday. Did some media, some marketing stuff with a few of his teammates, and Parker Phileas had made the comment that, like, every time he goes out, it seems like he understands wrestling heavyweight a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And because like you said, wrestling heavyweight's not wrestling at other weight classes. The tactics are different, the positioning's different, the weight sure as heck is different.
Yep.
So it's been really cool to watch him progress and evolve and develop that way.
Yep.
And get some of these wins.
It can't be understated, the weight difference, because as we've seen in previous years, we've had so many of our guys in the starting lineup that have been a little bit undersized for the heavyweight class.
For sure.
I mean, the difference between every other weight is 10, 15 pounds, and the gap between 197 and 285, almost 100 pounds, that you could be wrestling a guy that is almost 100 pounds heavier than you are.
Sure. Now, Thomas certainly does not weigh 197 now.
Of course.
But you're right. There is a significant gap. He is a smaller heavyweight. But as we said, he's learning how to use the tactics and the skill sets that he has to his advantage with these big guys. And that's where I see him improving the most. His decision making and how he's going to approach a match, I think is getting stronger each time out, and that'll continue through the rest of the year. He's going to continue to grow and develop, and I'm excited to see what he's going to be in March.
Well, before we get into any results from what happened up at Midlands, one thing that you mentioned before we started was Midlands is such a dangerous spot, right? Because it's such a grueling tournament, which we talk about all the time. It's such a gauntlet. But you're coming off of a little bit of a break, especially you wrestled SIUE the 2 weeks before, and you had a 2-week break, and then you had the holidays in there as well that broke it up, that kind of worried about how guys are going to come back. And before we get into any of the results, you were impressed with how the guys came back from their time off to wrestle in such a grueling tournament.
Yeah, I thought they did a nice job, and certainly a lot of the results reflected their discipline over the break. We talk all the time about controlling what you can control, and as a coach, you get a little bit nervous when you kick your guys loose and you don't get to see them. We lose some of that control, which I'll just speak for myself, makes me nervous. Yeah. Because you don't see them for 5 days, and certainly all of their workout situations aren't exactly what you would want. These kids go home and maybe they don't even have access to a wrestling room. Who knows? So I thought by and large they came back. They had their weight in control. By and large, there's always a guy or two you want to see a little bit better, but they came back and they looked like they were ready to go. They were hungry to dive into the next competition and get going again.
Well, we'll just start off right off the bat. Dylan Leidy taking first place. An incredible start to the season for him. 20-0. Is that
20-0.
20-0. An incredible start. He's up to 4 in some rankings. It's kind of
all of them.
In all of the rankings.
He's 4 across the board.
As we talked about yesterday, kind of a stalemate at the top of the 174 rankings, just because it's kind of waiting to see who's going to flinch first, who's going to lose a match. And got some really good wins along the way at Midlands. Number 8 at the time, number 4, and number 2 to get the championship place at Midlands.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job. He's a very confident guy. He knows what he wants to do. I'll throw my little coaching plug in here, though. I'd like to see him be more offensive and get more points on the board. But he's good. And let's talk about progress too. I guess with him.
Hey, we always have to have a coaching point in there. Don't forget. Yeah. We're not going to talk it straight up. We got to get a coaching point in there.
To supplement your point, Round 2, he won 4-0. In the quarterfinals against number 8, he won a decision 5-2. Semifinals, he won sudden victory, and then in the finals, he won 3-2. So every match that he's wrestling in are very close. And if he could work on his offense a little bit more, can make that gap a little bit better.
I will add this though, and I listened to the guys on Flow talk about this yesterday. They were talking about a different wrestler, but they were talking about how sometimes those close scores are a little misleading in the fact that, like, Dylan wins a match 4-0, and that doesn't seem like a huge win, but dominated the match.
Yeah,
right.
Spent a lot of time on top.
3-0 with 3.5 minutes of riding time.
Yeah, the guy never gets close to his legs. Like, he's, so some of these, while Coach definitely is on point, like, we want to see Dylan score more points. Zero question about that. But sometimes these low-scoring matches are a little misleading as far as how close they actually are, because he can be so dominant with his position, and I mean, guys just aren't coming close to scoring on him in a lot of these matches.
And I would agree with that 100%. Like, sometimes you can dominate a match and not score the points because the other guy is just content on trying to hold you off. He's not really trying to win the match. And I would say there is progress in my mind in this too, and I know Dylan and I have talked about this. Is he was overtime with Start before. At Vegas and got it done in OT, where this time he took care of it in regulation. But if you do look at the match, he was in on what I would call a serious attempt, a serious attack, where he had hands locked on a leg and had penetrated and created action in each of the 3 periods. 100%. So there was progress there. And anytime you wrestle a quality opponent, it's not going to be easy. So while I want him to have that goal of continuing to score points and develop in that way. Like, you should never be satisfied, right? Like, because you're winning, you can fool yourself into thinking everything's okay, and you should always just be in pursuit of being, hey, what's the next level for me? And for him, he has great offense, so more points should be what he's always pursuing. So there's a lot of progress, but we want to keep our foot on the gas in that way, where he's continuing to try to get to his attacks sooner and sooner in the match, and not to just attack, but turn those into points.
And like we've talked about before, Dylan Leidy, a kid that has grit, like you read about. I mean, he's 20, like we just said, 20-0 on the season, and has a few overtime wins that,
5 of them.
5 overtime wins of his 20 wins. So it just goes to show his grit and his attitude in these matches that, he's wrestling a quarter of his matches longer than 3 periods.
Nah, he's doing great. A lot of credit, like I said. We'll continue to pick at the things we want to do better, where we can be better. But he has every right to be very confident. He's battle tested. He's not ducking anybody. Every tournament he's out there and he's going, and he's really confident. And so, from a consistency standpoint, I feel very good about where he's at, because we know what's going to happen when he goes out.
7 of his 20 wins against ranked opponents.
Yep.
And you could really make that number 8, because Kimball Bastian wasn't ranked the second time they wrestled.
And I think he's top 15 now.
And that guy's a ranked wrestler. That guy's legit.
Yep.
Dylan's 2 wins over him carry a lot of weight on the national scene. That guy's really good. So, like Coach said, he's not ducking anybody. He's. I don't know if there's a wrestler out there that is undefeated that has that many wins.
Yeah, I mean,
20
wins is
20-0. I think is the best out there.
Having 20 matches by the first of the year is a lot.
And it's funny, Coach has given Dylan some opportunities to take a step back and not wrestle in a match here or not wrestle in a match there. And I've heard Dylan nope, I want it. Mm-hmm. Nope, I want it. This is my last year. He knows what's going on here. Like, he has, I think his awareness of where he is in his career and what's going on with him is at an all-time high, and I think it speaks a lot to his determination to get where he's trying to go.
I think that's a good point to make. We hear it talked about a lot, but Dylan really embodies the whole idea of the last go-round, where this is he knows that this is a kind of a last run for him, and he's not leaving anything. He's not going to hold anything back. He wants all the matches, and he understands that this is the last time. He won his last Midlands. He won his last Vegas trip.
Is that like in The Waterboy when the guy keeps saying on TV, "Can't hold anything back now"? This is.
I just watched that on TV the other day. It's funny you brought that up. Maybe you were watching too. I don't know.
I actually haven't seen it. But
I don't know.
That's what I heard right there when he said that.
Yep.
Can't hold anything back now.
I will say this about Dylan too. I think he's really enjoying it. You know what I mean? We talk about, he wants the match. I think he really is enjoying it and valuing, what he's doing in his time out there. And that's the way it should be. It should be that for everybody. Because I tell the guys all the time, don't blink, this season's going to be over. Stay in the moment. And I think that's where he's at. I think he's enjoying, he's not enjoying all the hard work, when we're pushing him, but I think he really enjoys and values, his time right now. And that's a great place to be.
Well, we have a potentially incredible match on Sunday here in Holloway Gymnasium at the 174 weight class. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. We've got some more first place winners to get to from Midlands.
Yeah, we're not done with Midlands. Big Midlands.
Christian Bruner. By the way, the rankings that I've said so far is for the tournament, not necessarily.
Those were seedings for Midlands.
Christian Bruner comes in as the number 3 seed, and in quarterfinals, semis, and finals takes on number 6, number 2, and number 5. And all guys that has seen before, guys that he's probably going to see again at some point, and getting wins against all of them. Lucas Davison from Northwestern, Brucky from Princeton, and Aiello from Virginia. All close matches, and like we just talked about with grit with Dylan Lighty, Christian Bruner is another guy that has grit like you read about.
Yep. No, he is. He's a gritty, tough kid. Doing the work. I think if you look in those matches too, maybe these last 3 matches, starting with quarters to finals, he gave up the first takedown in each match, but then really picked it up. So if we're talking about Christian, something to work on is obviously maybe not giving up that first takedown. But the thing I like about it is he really has a sense of urgency to his matches. He's wrestling hard. He's using his time, and he knows that one takedown's not going to beat him. There's another guy who understands I'm in shape and I can put points on the board, and let's wrestle. And so he's not afraid to mix it up, and he knows that late, he can close. He can go get the points that he needs. So another guy who's really confident. It was interesting, because at first, there was talk of redshirting him, and guys know that Thomas was down at 97 and doing a nice job. And I think when Christian just made up his mind that this is what he wanted to do, and it was his year, I just think you really see him, again, making the most of it. He's just grabbing these matches by the throat, and he's running at it hard, enjoying it, and this is what I want. He knows what he wants.
Probably having the same revelation of this is the last go-round, that you can't hold anything back. You've got to go out there and take it, and he's in a good place to do it.
Well, and watching him gut out some of those situations, like against Brucky, when he had to, not only did he have to come back and get a takedown because he gave one up, but then we had 40 seconds to go.
40, I believe it was 41. I mean, it's just burned in my head because you're trying to make a decision, right? You take a guy down with 41. There's enough time where you're like, okay, do we ride him or do we cut him or what? What do you do? Mm-hmm. And he showed a lot of grit riding him out for 41.
I mean, he made some serious mat returns. He covered some Granbys. Brucky was doing everything he could to get out, and Christian just hung on.
Yep.
And so it was really impressive.
Yep. No, I thought he nice job. But I would say this just because I pick on verbiage, right? As a coach, he did not hang on. In that he picked him up, he put him down.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
like
no.
Christian,
yes.
Christian closed that match the way he needed to.
100%.
It wasn't a guy who was just trying to hang on for the ride, watching the clock. I thought Christian did a great job of when we talk about staying in the moment. It's really easy to watch the clock and what's going. And I thought he just really pick him up, return him, double leg him out of bounds. You know what I mean? Like he did. He wrestled the situation the way it needed to be.
100%. Yeah. And obviously what I said could have been misconstrued as like kind of a negative connotation. So I'm glad you corrected that, because no, he didn't. He was very dominant in that position through those last 40 seconds, which by the way were probably the longest 40 seconds that you can remember. But no, there was nothing clingy about it. It was very dominant. It was very he hammered every position.
Yeah, he did a nice job closing.
Whatever Brucky tried to do, he was right there and ready for it.
Yep.
And another placer at Midlands, Kendall Coleman, finishing in 4th place, getting wins over Headley from North Carolina, who was number 6 in the quarterfinals. Getting in wrestlebacks, came back and got number 8 from Central Michigan, and then losing to Monday from Princeton.
Who's the top seed?
In the 3rd place match, he was the top seed. Could see a potential rematch of his loss in the semifinals to Caleb Young, losing that one in a pin late in the match.
And that pin was kind of, I mean, you could
It was sudden death.
Yes.
As soon as he gave up the 2, Kendall relaxed. Certainly, you don't want Kendall to relax. If that's a
Sure.
dual meet, we give up 6 points,
Yeah,
team
right.
points the same. So,
Yeah.
in no way do I condone it. But it was a situation where Kendall gave up the 2 in sudden death. He knew he'd lost the match, and you could just see he let his body language go. And,
But talking about, you mentioned Christian being impressive. Kendall Coleman, I mean, as a redshirt freshman, to go out there at his first official time at Midlands to be able to compete that way against that talent. I mean, we still have a grueling schedule ahead, which we'll get to in just a moment. But Kendall Coleman really having a great start to his career.
Yeah, I think what it speaks to Kendall is the level of disappointment and expectation that we all had, in the semifinal when he lost, and if you watch the match, we thought he had the scramble, he had the advantage in the scramble and was going to close it out, and so to lose that and to be fourth, there's some pretty, there's a big disappointment for us. I know Kendall too. I'm not speaking out of turn for Kendall, and so it just speaks to where Kendall kind of has put himself early into the career. Certainly, he got a lot of work to do, but he's competing hard. He knows he can wrestle with anybody in the country, and there's a lot of confidence in that. And I see that reflected in his wrestling. So, I like where he's at. Certainly, a lot of room and improvement because he's early in his career. So, that's exciting. There's just nothing but excitement for me around Kendall. Knowing that we let a match get away from us there in the semifinal that we probably should have had, and we're going to get a chance. I know we're going to talk about it, but we're going to get a chance on Sunday. Mm-hmm. We've got work to do Friday still, but it's exciting for me that can we make some adjustments, get better, and flip those results here, second half of the year.
And the thing about Kendall, I mean, the limited time that I'm up here in the wrestling office, I think I've seen him the most because he's always up here working with you and the other coaches with film, watching himself, watching things that he needs to get better at, and constantly working to get better off the mat, which is something that you can't really teach in some kid, especially as a freshman, to come in and just constantly be a sponge. He wants to soak things up and wants to constantly get better.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Kendall is a good student of the sport. I mean, he's learning about what that looks like, mm-hmm. and it makes him very coachable. That's why I think we're going to see a lot of development from him even from now until March with the 9 Big Ten duels remaining. I think you're going to see a better version of him, even in March yet.
Well, before we look ahead to Iowa on Sunday, like you mentioned, Wildcats up in Evanston on Friday night. Going to be a tough match starting off the Big Ten season. On the road is always tough, and going into, they've got a great team, and you don't want to look ahead to Sunday because you've got a tough opponent ahead of you before you even get to the number 1 ranked team.
Yeah, right. And that's, we were talking obviously before we even got going here today. That's the thing. We preach all the time, and I've probably talked about it enough on the podcast. You stay in the moment, right? It's the process. It's the moment.
Hunter, you think you're supposed to stay in the moment?
You stay in the moment.
You heard
right?
that before?
I don't know, but I've never heard that.
That's weird.
Sweet. I'm not doing my job. Okay, I can tell where we got to go in the future. I'm going to have flashcards next time. Are you guys cool with that?
Okay.
I'll bring flashcards.
Hey, good news is neither Hunter nor I are wrestling Friday or Sunday.
That's great. That's awesome.
It's good news for you.
It's good. It's good. We got a chance in the duel, huh?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But no, it's true. I mean, Northwestern has a good team. They've got some really good individuals as well. So we're going to have to be ready. We can't look past. It'll be nice to be at home on Sunday, but we got to leave here Thursday and get ready to go take care of our business on Friday night there, and then we'll get ready for Iowa.
Yep.
So no doubt we've got to stay in the moment and just worry about the people in front of us. And that's the nice thing. Like I said, if anything, that's what we talk about the most is staying in the moment and just wrestle the situation. Wrestle through every situation hard. So hopefully that message is stuck with the team, and that's where they're at. I think they will be there. But we'll get we'll take care of that, and then we'll worry about Iowa.
It's definitely an interesting situation having to go on the road on Friday, turn around and be home on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Obviously they do that just because Northwestern is a short little drive up the road. Should be back plenty of time to regroup and reload for Sunday. But and then you throw in everything else that's going on campus this weekend with a track meet all day on Saturday. Men's basketball's got Michigan State at noon on Sunday. So it's going to be...
and classes start on Monday.
And classes start on Monday, so the students are all just coming back to town. So
Yep.
it's going to be a bit of a circus that way in the atmosphere just around Purdue athletics that, we're going to have to really stay focused. And, like Coach said, go take care of business Friday night, come back, regroup, get back in the room, get ready for Sunday. And so I think it's a great challenge for the guys. I think it's a cool opportunity to do something special. Obviously we want to go take care of business on the road Friday night. Northwestern, like we said, I mean, they've got some hammers. You got a guy like Sebastian Rivera at 33, who's that guy's been there. Just won Puerto Rican nationals at 57 kilos. Had a third place performance at Midlands. Did really well there in a loaded 33-pound bracket.
Yeah, him in that gross match in the semifinal was a tremendous match. So.
That was crazy. So many delays and challenges and reviewed calls and whatnot. It was that was wild. But then also, you got number 1 Ryan Deacon at 57. You went through some of the other guys. DiAgostino at 125 is a top 10 type of guy just as a freshman. We got our guy in Kendall, and that's one of their guys there. So it'll be a fun duel.
A lot of ranked matchups, a lot of good matchups,
a lot of really good matchups at a lot of different weights that will be pivotal on how the duel swings.
Right.
We're gonna have to count on specific guys to go out and
Get some bonus points.
Get some bonus points, do some work.
Mm-hmm.
But then Iowa's definitely not short in some loaded matchups as well.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa having, they've got a top to bottom roster that they.
They're top 10 at like every weight.
Right.
So.
Speaking of good atmospheres, though, hoping that you all can come out and to Holloway Gymnasium, support the Boilers against the Hawkeyes on Sunday. This
4
will be
o'clock.
4 o'clock, just your second time of the season. One of 5 times, right? Five home duels?
5 home duels.
Yep.
That you'll be able to see the Boilers, and you won't be able to see them again for another month because you're not home until the end of the month, January 31st, against Minnesota. So this will be your first time and last time for a little while to come out and see the Boilers wrestle against Iowa. That's going to be an incredible duel. We know that the Iowa fans travel well, so we're hoping that we can fill it with our black and gold rather than their black and yellow. Should be an exciting match for everyone. You're going to see a ton of top ranked matchups. Should be incredible for all the wrestling fans out there.
No, it should be a great one. And as you mentioned, we certainly want to fill the gym, so I want to invite everybody to come out, fill the stands, be loud, get crazy. You'll have a chance to see a number of ranked matchups, and like I said, I think it should be a fun duel.
Now Sunday is a ticketed event. $5 for tickets. Tickets start at $5.
Which is a bargain. Bargain at any price for this.
Reason we're doing it, just so people know, we know that we have free admission to a lot of our duels. What we don't want is, because we're expecting a full gym, we're expecting a lot of people, we don't want people traveling from long distances, show up at the gym and it's sold out. You don't have a ticket. That would be awful to have to be able to tell a parent or tell somebody that just was in the car for 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever. They get to the door and like, yep, sorry, we're at capacity, you can't come in.
Right.
So tickets are on sale. PurdueSports.com. You can call the ticket office 1-800-49-SPORT. You can get your $5 ticket ahead of time. That way, that, especially if you're traveling from somewhere far away, you do not want to get here and get turned away. That would be awful. We don't want that for anybody. That is why we're making it a ticketed event. So that we don't have to have any of those situations where people are upset because they can't get in.
Right. Well, I'm very much looking forward to it. Of course, I'm going to be there. Just to, since we're getting ready to start the Big Ten schedule, just to kind of lay out what the rest of the season looks like. It's kind of a weird schedule. From what I understand, this is kind of the way that you'd like it to be. The way you start out on the road, and then you're at home, and then you're away for 3, going to Indiana, Maryland, and then Rutgers, and then home for 3 against Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Nebraska, and then going to Illinois before Big Tens. So kind of breaking it up into chunks rather than kind of going back and forth all the time. That's kind of what you like, or what?
No,
what you don't like?
I would probably prefer not to have such large chunks away. It's just the way the Big Ten, they are in charge of our schedule, and that's just the way the rotation and the scheduling went this year.
Sure.
Certainly you'd like to maybe, be at home, once every week, possibly, But at least once in those 6 weeks, you're going to be on the road twice. They try not to do that more than once for any team. So, but it's just how it goes. Obviously, but still a lot of great matchups, that you're going to see, and it should be a really fun year to watch. Now, like I said, it's going to fly. We're down to our last 6 weeks from a Big Ten standpoint, and then we're going to take a couple weeks just to train and peak and get ready for Big Tens, which is going to mean a lot.
And, obviously the Big Ten from top to bottom in terms of how good they are is incredible. But some of your really tough matches, you get to have them here, which is a great thing. To have Iowa come here, to have Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska, bring them all here and kind of get that home court advantage, get in front of the home crowd.
Just the latest rankings rundown, just for people wondering. Number 1, Iowa coming to town. Number 2, Nebraska coming to town. Number 8, Wisconsin coming to town. Number 15, Minnesota coming to town. So, you're going to get an opportunity to come to some of these Purdue matches.
And Purdue's going to be right there in the mix as well. So this is all going to be top 15.
Sitting at 18 in the dual rankings right now. Lots of opportunities to move up. So, and that's the way we like to look at it. Things is opportunities, challenges, things
so there's going to be some incredible matches, incredible Big Ten matches in Holloway Gymnasium. So be sure to come out and support Purdue, especially towards the end of the schedule. It gets pretty interesting, and I know we've talked about this before, of the way that you kind of like it this way, that you have Nebraska at home, and then you have about a week and a half off where you go to Champaign to take on the Illini, and then 2.5, almost 3 weeks off after that match before Big Tens. Obviously, Big Tens is, incredible tournament, but you just mentioned of kind of being able to recover from the season a little bit, and then also ramp up to be able to peak that when that Saturday rolls around up in Piscataway.
There's two lines of thought there too as well, because of how you qualify. And we've talked about that a little bit. There's an RPI, a win percentage, and a coach's ranking. And to have an RPI, you have to have 15 matches minimum. And also the win percentage, has to be high as well. So I did that for 2 reasons. One, we're further enough out that if we want to take a couple days off, let some guys heal up, freshen up, and then hit a couple of good, hard, 3-day training cycles to peak going into Big Tens. We have that option. But also there's some last-minute tournaments, where you can go out and you can get some wins, have a chance to get your RPI or whatever up, get your coach's rank up, do what you need to do. So I left that open for 2 reasons. I thought the guys who are firmly cemented where they're going to be, we've got some time just to chill out and let them have a couple days and freshen up, and then start our training cycle. And then if there's a tournament that following weekend that we need to get a couple guys to, we can do that as well. So you're just trying to ensure, just within the qualification rules, that you have your best chance to get everybody to nationals to score points for you.
Absolutely.
And that's a little bit of an explanation for people at home that may not know. When you look at the rankings and you see some guys, top 5, top 10 ranked guys that only have 4 or 5 matches, it's kind of like the game of chess that each head coach plays, of how many matches I need. This guy doesn't need, you've got the guys that are number 1, number 2, number 3, like the guys that have proved themselves. They don't have to go out and wrestle an entire season's worth of matches, because they know who they are, they know their style, and they're looking towards Big Tens. It's that game of chess that the coaches play, of what matches you're going to wrestle in order to qualify, to meet those qualification numbers that you just mentioned, and then to get into Big Tens, compete for a Big Ten championship and a national championship.
The thing you don't want, though, is you don't want guys to rest on their laurels.
Oh, it's certainly a dangerous game.
You get a lot of these schools that they know they've got a top guy, and that when it comes down to it, they're going to earn a spot for the nationals, right? But what you don't want is them to sit back so far that they don't qualify a spot for the conference, and they go steal somebody else's. They put the conference in a position where people are scrambling for at-large bids because they earned a spot for the conference, and then somebody came in and stole it. That's not great for the Big Ten. Makes it hard on a lot of the schools, and unfortunately, you can
any conference still falls into that. And the interesting thing is it falls into this is an Olympic year, so you could still have some of that with other guys. I mean, you've already seen a lot of collegians, compete down at the U.S. Open in Dallas.
Yeah, the Olympic
over
year
break.
is crazy.
So, there are some match counts out there that if you look, not just Big Ten, but around the country where, they're going to need to have that 15 match minimum to have an RPI, and you want them to. You know what I mean? Now, not to go too deep for people at home, but you could still have a good win percentage, which is a lower match count,
Sure,
and then
the
you could have
coaches
your
rank.
coaches rank.
Yeah.
So there's other ways to do this. Okay?
You said you got to have 8 matches. 8 matches.
Eight
for the win
matches is
percentage?
what it's been, for the win percentage, and then 15 for the RPI, and obviously the coaches rank is what it is. So, but that's a consideration, and it's something you want to keep an eye on, because it will impact how many wild cards there might be out there, coming out of the conference tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, it's the underlying rules and the qualifications and things that go into these tournaments, I think, is something that the common fan don't need to trouble themselves with.
No.
Something that the coaches, that's what you get paid to worry about, is how all these things work going into all these different tournaments for these guys that, I mean, I love the sport. I've watched, there's always new things that pop up that it's like, I don't know how guys qualify for certain things.
Just worry about coming to our 4 Big Ten home duels and following the team.
Make sure you get yourself a seat in Holloway.
We appreciate that.
Buy your popcorn.
Well, it should be an exciting season for the Boilers. Like we said, they've got an incredible home season, a home schedule, some great talent coming into town, starting off with Iowa this Sunday. So Boilermakers on the road in Evanston, so if you're in that area, or if you want to make the trip from West Lafayette, just a couple hours up northwest to Evanston to watch the Boilers take on the Wildcats, and then you get to see them at home on Sunday against the Hawkeyes. Should be a great season, great Big Ten season.
Looking forward to the Big Ten season, man. It's going to be fun.
Incredible matches all across the conference that you can watch on BTN Plus for sure. So for Tanner, head coach Tony Ursuline, I'm Hunter Massengill. Always Aggressive Podcast. We'll see you next week after wins against Northwestern and against Hawkeyes.
That's
hopefully.
right.
Let's do it.
Have a lot to talk about.
As always, Boiler up.